Mount Rigi, also called the Queen of the Mountains, is a unique mountain. It has its own railway line, and even though this is not unique in Switzerland, the Rigi Railway has something extra to it, with some stunning views on the surrounding area. So join me as I take you on board of this train. Our journey will start in the valley, from just above the hairline, and will bring us on the mountain to all the way above the tree line. But that's not it. We also take a boat along Lake Luzerne. Join me on board of this kind of different trip reports, what I do regularly on my channel. If you like this video or this is a helpful video to you, please give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, mainly train, but also ferry and even sometimes buses, not that often though, then hit the subscribe button. But for now, let's roll the intro. But first, some background information on this route. I arrived in the morning with a sleeper train from the Netherlands in Basel, and I made some other videos over here. I took an intercity from Basel to Domodossola in Italy, and from there on I took a very cute little local train to Locarno in Switzerland again. From Locarno I travelled with the Treno Gotthard. This is a slower train that goes along the Gotthard railway pass to the railway station of Arth-Goldau. From Arth-Goldau the Rigi adventure starts, and I'll be taking both railway lines on the Rigi mountain. However, if you don't want to take the railway lines but you just want to take the boat that I'll be taking at the end of the video, you can also take the boat from Lucerne. By the way, the views from the train are stunning if you take the old Gotthard route, and also the section between Lucerne and Arth-Goldau is stunning from the train. This here is my train that arrived at the railway station of Arth-Goldau. And even though Arth-Goldau doesn't look that big, this is quite an important railway junction in Switzerland. And while I show you the station, let me give you some background on this trip. Because I'm working as a travel agent, and the Swiss Tourism Organization invited a lot of travel agents from all over the world to the Swiss travel market. Both buyers for travel agencies, but also suppliers, so hotels, tour operators from Switzerland, etc. do meet here. And before the Swiss travel market, there were some pre-tours, and this was a part of my pre-tour. After I filled up my bottle with some fresh water, what you can do a lot in Swiss railway stations by the way to reduce plastic waste, I went to the station for the Rigibahn. And here my 3-day field trip started. The railway station for the Rigibahn isn't that big though. It has 2 tracks and 1 platform, and you find a small shop where you can buy some souvenirs. I mean, this is still a very touristic attraction after all. It makes sense really, because it is really pretty. On this section of the route, so between Arth-Goldau and Rigi Kulm, you will find all the trains, and these are the trains you can see here on the left. We were traveling on a very special train today, what was even older. And because we were having this kind of guided tour, we can also go and visit some of the old train sets in the depot. What was really cool, I have to say. I mean, normally I show you what it's like if you make this journey by yourself, and most likely you won't end up in this specific train car. However, the trains you find on this route are rather simple, so I don't think I need a lot of explanation for that. Anyway, today we were traveling with train car number 6. That has been built in 1911, has 50 seats and has a top speed of 15 kilometers per hour. This is a mountain railway that using a cog-wheel, so it's not going that fast. This train that I'll be taking on the way up won't be used for regular day-to-day service, but only for special events. And they also call it the special fondue train. I'll show you why in a bit. They have made these special tables where the glasses fit exactly inside the cup holders, and I think this is great. And it's also needed if you have a mountain railway, obviously. Because this is an older carriage, the driver is in the back, so on the valley side of the train. However, there needs to be someone at the front to have an overview of the railway as well. So there's also always a second person at the front, at least if the train goes up. There are 2 railway lines on Mount Rigi. This one is the longest one, and this is the railway line between Arth-Goldau and Rigi Kulm, what is 8.5 kilometers long. This railway line from Arth-Goldau to Rigi Kulm will bring us in this 8.5 kilometers from 519 meters above sea level to 1752 meters above sea level. I'll get back to you in a bit. And here we arrived at the top. And why this train is special? There were some special dining events, and this was basically the fondue train. So we had some great Swiss fondue on top of the mountain in the train that was provided by the restaurant that's located right next to the railway station on the top of the mountain. The food and also the beer and most of the drinks were produced as much as possible locally. Quite a lot of the food has just been produced on the mountain, what is great. The railway station on the top of the mountain does have two tracks. One track is for the trains to Vitznau, and these are the more modern trains we'll be taking on the way back. The other track is for the trains from and to Arth-Goldau, and this is how we arrived here. By the way, if you're traveling with the use of a Swiss pass, you can just take these trains. If you have Interrail or Eurail, you will get a discount, but I don't know the exact rules for this, so please check this, and apart from that, this might change in the near future. On the top of the mountain, we met some locals. And even though the train takes you quite high, you can go a bit higher and enjoy the spectacular views from the top of the mountain. This place is being visited by many people from all over the world and all year round. And even though there's a hotel on the top of the mountain and a nice restaurant, I also noticed some people that were camping over here. I mean, I love to do this as well, but I don't know the exact rules when it comes to this. So if you want to camp here by yourself, please check the rules before you do this. But, well, some people did it. And waking up with these views would be amazing, I guess. Personally, I wouldn't put my tent over here, because if you start sleepwalking, well, I guess I don't need to explain this. And if you like to hike, something I love to do personally by myself, there's some great hikes over here as well. After enjoying the sunset on the top of the mountain, I went back to the railway station for our train that will take us down to the valley to the railway station of Vitznau. And for this journey, we'll be traveling on one of the newer trains made by Stadler. These trains have been put in operation in 2021 and 2022. These trains can also be combined, so you have a higher capacity for these trains. Apart from the fact that this is a very touristic destination, there are also quite a lot of people living on this mountain. And there are even some car-free towns on this mountain, so the train is the only way to go to these towns, apart from hiking. Because it's very touristic, lots of information has been given in many languages. And even though these newer trains are relatively simple, I mean, it's a short distance after all. Let me give you a train tour. Screens near the entrance doors will host route information, and this is marked crystal clear, and right above the entrance door you will find line maps. These trains do come in one class only, and the seat layout is in a 3x2 configuration. There are some dedicated luggage zones, but also between the back ends of the seats you can store some luggage. There are also special ski holders because, well, you're still on a mountain and people might ski here in the wintertime as well. When it comes to luggage space, there is some space for luggage, but it's not overwhelming. But most people don't take these trains if they are traveling with a lot of luggage. And if you take this train as a mean of transportation along a longer trip, no need to worry, then you will find enough space to store your luggage. LED screens at the side of the train will host the final destination, and within these trains you also find USB sockets you can use to charge your mobile devices. And the best part of this all, totally at the front and at the back, you can have a great view with the driver. Well, having these views can only be made when the driver is opening the door next to him. So I think normally you won't have these views as I have right here. Because it was already getting dark on the ride down to the valley, I didn't film the views for the entire ride from the train. I can tell you from an experience point of view that the views from the train along this route are stunning as well. I traveled along this route the other way around before I started making these kind of videos and before I had this YouTube channel, and that was really impressive. And because this is a mountain railway that is using a cog-wheel, the railway line is pretty steep. By the way, even though this is a mountain railway using a cog-wheel, the width of the tracks is like standard gauge, so like normal trains within Europe. Since I'm a bit more a train geek, I first would expect that this will be on a narrow gauge railway line. This here are the views on the railway line from the town of Vitznau, where I didn't film because it was dark. And as you can see, it goes pretty steep up on the mountain. After a very good night in the town of Vitznau and also a great breakfast, I went to explore the railway station in the town of Vitznau the next morning. Over here you find some examples of the cogwheel, and there's also a map of this specific line up to Mount Rigi, to the railway station of Rigi Kulm. At this railway station there's a parking garage and a really modern depot. This is totally different from what we saw at the beginning of this video near the railway station of Arth-Goldau. And right next to the railway station you'll find the entrance for the boats that will go along the Lake Luzerne, or Lake of the Fort Fortress Settlements, if I literally translate it into English. Unlike the railway station of Arth-Goldau, where you find connection on mainline trains, both domestically but also international trains, you will not find other trains apart from the Rigi trains from and to this railway station. You will find buses though, and the boats I mentioned earlier on. And apart from these newer trains, I also noticed some older trains in the depot. The station is not that special though, but of course you also find a souvenir shop, and route information about departing trains have been given crystal clear. Something I really like is the railway turntable that's between the railway station and the point where the boats do depart from. These newer, longer trains won't fit completely on the railway turntable, but the older trains do. However, for the newer trains they can use this as a change to put the tracks into different directions, for example different platforms in the depot. And as you can see, these older trains do fit completely on the railway turntable. Anyway, it's time to focus the scope on the boats instead of on the trains, because we'll be continuing our way by boat to Lucerne. And both the views from but also on the water will be amazing. You find different kinds of boats on the Vierwatsstätte, or literally translated Lake of the Fort Fortress Settlements, or in English just Lake Luzerne. And in general the rule is, if you're traveling second class you have the lower deck, and first class you can use the upper deck. If you have a Swiss pass you can travel with these boats as well, and if you have Eurail or Interrail you'll get a 50% discount. Because there are quite a lot of vessels, and not all vessels are the same, I'll give you a tour of my vessel though. I was traveling on board of the MS Brunnen. This is an older vessel, although it's not the oldest one for sure. The first class, I will start off by showing you this, and this is at the upper deck. There's a really nice area outside, what was perfect when I was traveling here, because it was around 30 degrees Celsius. There's also an inside area for if the weather is a little bit less good, and you find some coat hangers here. By the way, both in first and second class you can also buy something to eat and drink on both of these boats. There's even a full-size kitchen below deck. This here is at the front side at the inner deck, and right here is the area where you enter these boats from. I didn't put it well on camera, but there's also a small ticket counter at this spot. There are quite a lot of places to enjoy the views from the boat, both in and outside. This all here, by the way, what is at the lower deck, is all second class. And it feels just as good as first class. The main difference is that if you are sitting at the inside area, you have slightly less good views from the boat. However, the comfort level is basically the same, both in first and second class. And because no train tour is complete without doing a toilet review, these trains I had so far on the Rigibahn didn't have a toilet, so let me do a toilet review over here. Toilets are gender specific, and if you want to change the diapers for your baby, this is only possible at the female toilet. This was unfortunately occupied, and therefore I didn't do a proper toilet review. I hope you will be able to forgive me for this. And even though the famous co-host of the Trainviking YouTube channel wasn't there, she will also say hello to you in this video. Want to say hi to the viewers on YouTube? I can imagine. For now, I'll just show you some views from the boat between Vitznau and Luzern. This is not the fastest way to travel between these two spots, but it's definitely the most scenic one. I'll get back to you right after this. Let me cut it down really quick, because 2 years ago I was also at this spot in Lucerne, and in a video I made on the Lucerne Interlaken Express I told you this. And at the front of the railway station you find a lot of ferries that will go across this lake. One thing you can do is, for example, go to Mount Rigi, what is absolutely worth doing. We didn't do this because we didn't have time for this, but I think I'll be back around here. So I kept my promise. And even though I was back around here alone, I kept my promise. And from here on we took exactly the same train. Therefore I won't make a trip report this time again, because it has only been 2 years since I made this specific trip report. But if you want to know more about the railway station of Lucerne and the Lucerne Interlaken Express, you can find that video in the description of this video. And probably it will pop up on the top right of your screen as well. I hope you liked this video. If you did so, once again, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, mainly focusing on long distance and or international travel, then hit that subscribe button. See you on my next video. Once again, thank you for watching. If you are interested in other trip reports, of course you can find them on this channel. And something else you find in the description of this video on YouTube is a link to a map. And on this map you can find our trip reports. See you on the next video.